Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday and it has been a morning like most Wednesdays. And that's why I'm so excited to talk to you guys this week. I just got back from coaching a class, which I haven't done in a while. I got to see the EAV moms. Shout out if any of you are listening. It was an awesome morning. It was so good to see all of you. And I'm excited to be in OxFit in East Atlanta Village every Wednesday. So, if you haven't caught one of my classes, it has been a while since I've coached, but come join me, A15 in East Atlanta. We're going to be having some fun. This topic today that I want to chat about with you was actually something that I brainstormed on a walk, dropping off my kids to school last week. And I kind of started the podcast with an intro about it. So it's something that really hits home for me. It's something that I've been personally working on a lot myself and also with my clients. So I think it's a good topic for the season that we're all in. So for those parents listening, join me. We're about to go on a little journey together. So you know that feeling when you wake up and before your feet even hit the floor, someone is already calling your name, needing something, asking something. And just like that, the day's already started for everyone else but you. Yeah, I've been there. That is the season, like I said, that a lot of my clients are in or have just gotten out of. So for the longest time, I thought that was just parenthood. Like that was just the way that it had to be, just the deal, right? You pour into everyone else and somewhere down the line, eventually you get a few minutes to yourself. But that is definitely not the answer. That is a story that we begin telling ourselves and it keeps us running on empty. So I've started paying more attention to that and how I start my day. And I actually had a really good conversation about this just the other morning with one of our coaches that I wanted to share. We were just catching up after class, talking about our kids, talking about life, and actually talking about kind of the aging process because now we're both in our 40s. And somewhere in the middle of this is what he mentioned to me. He said, when you get on an airplane and they do the safety tutorial, and they tell you that if the oxygen mask drops, you need to put it on yourself first, right? Before you can help anyone else. And we kind of just laughed. And I said, yeah, of course. And he goes, well, that is what us parents need to remember, right? And I mean, he's right. Like that is it right there. That's the whole thing. Because we would never get on a plane and think, oh, no, I'll just help everyone else first and figure myself out later. We know that doesn't work. We know you have to be okay before you can help anyone else be okay, right? But somehow in real life, as parents, as partners, as business owners, we do it every single day. We pour into everyone else first and tell ourselves we'll get to us eventually. So that's really what today is about. It's about putting your oxygen mask on first thing in the morning, before the kids, before the busy inbox, before the chaos kicks in, so that you can actually show up for all of it, not just survive the day. All right, let's get into it, team. So now if you've been following along the last few weeks, we have been I've been in this really real stretch of content. Our whole team has been really, because we've noticed this theme with our clients and the people that we coach every day. And that's just real life challenges that come up, right? So about a month ago, a lot of us, myself included, my husband included, right, we're coming back from spring break vacations. And what I kept hearing from the clients that I personally work with every day over and over again was, I've lost my momentum. I don't know how I got off track. I really want to get back on track and I don't know where to start, right? Does this sound familiar? Yeah. So that's been the theme. How do we get back on our plan after life happens? How do we crawl out of a motivational rut? Not with a dramatic overhaul, but definitely not by doing everything all at once, right? Because we all know how that ends. We try to do it all. We burn out in 3 days and we feel worse than before we started. So last week we talked about some simple meal prep strategies, and I shared with you exactly what I do on Sundays. Because food is often the first thing that falls apart when life gets busy. And it's also one of the easiest places to win small and build momentum back. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, go back and check it out. It's a really good one. And then this week, we're going to go one step further. So we're talking about the morning routine, because the way you start your day is everything. And these are the simple things, right? When you execute on them consistently, they make a massive difference to your physical health, your mental health, and your overall mood. Not complicated. They don't have to be extreme, just do them consistently. And I'll be honest with you, it's not easy for me either. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it and no one would need a coach. But that is exactly why our coaching program exists, because it helps to have someone in your corner who genuinely cares, who checks in on you, who holds you accountable, and a community around you that is doing the hard work right alongside you and that get it, that can share the stories with you. If you've been feeling stuck, unmotivated, or like you just can't seem to get back on track, this is the episode for you. We're building a morning routine from the ground up. 5 simple habits that will change how you feel every single day. And if you want support doing it, our coaching program is the place to be. The link is going to be below. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. So before we get into the 5 tips I have to share with you, I want to talk about why this works. Because when you understand the why, you are more likely to actually do the thing. So here's what I want you to think about. Have you ever noticed that when you check one thing off your to-do list, you almost immediately feel like moving on to the next one? That is not a coincidence. That is your brain on momentum. And there's a book, you may have heard it, that explains this better than almost anything I've read. It's James Clear's Atomic Habits. And if you haven't read it, put it on your list immediately. In it, he talks about a concept called habit stacking. And if you're one of my clients, you've probably heard of this term. And here's how he defines it. So habit stacking increases the likelihood that you'll stick with a habit by stacking your new behavior on top of an old one that you're already doing. This process can be repeated to chain numerous habits together, each one acting as the cue for the next. My favorite part here is each one acting as a cue for the next. That is exactly what we're going to talk about and what we're building this morning. So the formula is fairly simple, right? After I do this, then I will do this, right? After I do A, I will do B. For example, after I eat breakfast, I will take my supplements. You link a new behavior that you're already doing, like eating breakfast, to something that you want to do consistently, a new habit, like take your supplements. And you're doing it in a way that is natural to you, right? So using an established habit as a natural cue. So instead of trying to build 5 brand new habits out of just thin air, right? You attach them to something you're already doing. So this becomes, easier, more natural to you. Wake up, make coffee, and then journal, right? Make coffee, move your body, prep your lunch, right? Each one flows into the next. So the goal is to make starting so easy that you can't say no. And the beautiful thing about mornings is that you already have built-in anchors. Making coffee, brushing your teeth, walking to the kitchen, those are your cues. We're just going to attach powerful new habits to them. And the beautiful thing about this morning routine is that 5 good habits don't just give you 5 wins. They give you the momentum that carries through your entire day. So you check one thing off, then another. And every time you look at that list and see those check marks, your brain releases a little bit of dopamine, the I've got this chemical. You feel capable, you feel organized, you feel in control of your day. And then that feeling makes it then easier to keep going all day long, to take advantage of that momentum. Okay, so are you ready for it? Here are the 5 habits to improve your morning routine. So the first one is, if you have kids, wake up before your kids. And if you don't, just wake up earlier than you need to. I know. You're already really tired, right? So the last thing you want me to say is wake up earlier, but hear me out, because this is the foundation that makes everything else possible. So waking up before your kids isn't about like punishing yourself with a 4 a.m. alarm. It's about claiming ownership of the first part of your day. Even if it's just 20 minutes, even if it's just 30 minutes, before the requests start, before the questions start, before the noise starts, you exist for yourself first. And here's the shift I want you to make. Stop thinking about your morning as the time before your family wakes up. Start thinking about it as your time. That happens to end when your family wakes up. That reframe really matters because one is reactive and one is intentional. So let me tell you what my actual morning looked like today. So I was up at 5 a.m., which is a little earlier than my usual 6 because I had some real work to get done before the day started. And honestly, 5 a.m. is not cute, right? I'm not going to pretend it is. But here's the thing. I turned the lights on, and the very first thing I did before anything else was pet my dog. He sleeps at the foot of the bed, and he looks up at me like, are you serious right now? Like completely annoyed, totally unbothered. And I just laughed at him, right? And I know that sounds so small and silly, but that tiny little moment, those like 30 seconds of just me and my grumpy 6-year-old dog before the whole world woke up, right, was, something that just set something right in me. Because that's when I'm waking up to, just my own alarm, right? My own instinct instead of a screaming toddler. So, having the slow and having the gentle is much better than, having someone screaming at you where there's no easing in and it's 0 to 60 before my eyes are even open. So that quiet little wake up that I had this morning, even on the hard mornings, even at 5 a.m., it was mine. So after that, I have some water and I make a little rule for myself that I'm getting used to now, right? I journal just 3 things that I'm grateful for before I'm allowed to have my morning coffee. And that sets me up for success. I have my water, then I have my moment of quiet where I'm just practicing a little gratitude, and then I go have the coffee. And it sounds simple, but honestly, that little reward at the end works every time. Because by the time I'm sitting down with the coffee, I've already done something good for myself, right? Something meditative. The day's already had a win in it. And that feeling, that's what we're chasing. Start small. If you currently wake up at 7, try 6:45 this week, then 6:30 next week. You don't have to overhaul your whole life on day 1. Just create a little gap between you waking up and the world needing you. And that gap is sacred. Protect it. Okay, tip number 2, journal. All right, journaling. I used to think that this was for people who had a lot of feelings and a lot of free time, and as a busy mom running a business, I thought I had neither. But I was wrong. And, it actually can be pretty simple. It takes me a minute most mornings. It doesn't have to be writing a long poem, right? Deep about your soul. Like it doesn't have to be that. It can just be a couple sentences. It can be a brain dump, like a total task list. Or it can be like what I've been doing recently, just writing 3 things down that you're grateful for, and maybe 1 thing that you are going to focus on today. And the point of journaling in the morning is simple. Get the noise out of your head before you walk into your day. Because if you don't, that noise just rattles around in your brain all day. The worry about the meeting, the guilt about whatever it was last night, right? The mental to-do list you're carrying. And it quietly drains your energy without you even realizing it. When you write it down, you create distance from it. You go from being inside the thought to looking at the thought. And that is incredibly powerful. So here are 3 simple prompts to start with, right? And I'll put these in the description as well, or the comments, so you can grab them. 1 is, what am I grateful for today, right? 3 things, and small ones count. What is 1 thing I need to do today to feel like it was a good day? And thirdly, how do I want to feel today? Not what do I want to do, but how do I want to feel? And that last one's really a game changer, by the way, because when you know how you want to feel, then you start making choices throughout the day that support that feeling. I've been using this journal actually called 100 Days to Believing Bigger. It's a devotional, faith-based journal. Choose whatever works for you, right? It doesn't have to be religious in any way, but I'm currently really loving this one. And it's not just a blank page. It gives you some prompts. It walks you through something. And some mornings it's light and energizing, and you close it feeling fired up, right? And then some mornings it gets you and it's a little heavier. So I want to share a personal story. So I had one of those mornings recently where it was just like a little heavier and it really, really spoke to me. I sat down, opened the prompt for the day, and I just started writing. And somewhere in the middle of answering the questions, stuff just started kind of coming out that I didn't even realize I had been carrying, like stress that I had pushed down and moved past. Because there was just always something else to get to, right? Always something else or someone else to take care of. And I'm sitting there, in bed at this moment, right before I got up to do anything else, journaling. And I just started kind of tearing up about like the answer that I was writing. And you know what my first feeling actually was after that? It wasn't embarrassment or like sadness, really. It was like relief, because I'd been holding on to that stress and God knows how long. But, it only took me a couple minutes to just like sort of own it and then finally let it out. And the moment I put it on the page, it wasn't rattling around in my mind anymore. Like it was out, I owned it, and then I could move forward. So that's the kind of power journaling can have. It's not about being a writer. It's, not about having the right words, really just about getting honest with yourself, especially when, it's uncomfortable. So if you don't know where to start, I'll also drop in the comments this 100 days to believing bigger. Go grab it. It has some really great prompts and it forces you to think about things that maybe are uncomfortable that you might not want to, but it can just like release some of that stress that's draining your cup. So, all right. Tip number 3 is going to be all about movement, right? And I'm not going to tell you that you need to go take our 5 a.m. class in East Atlanta or 5:30 a.m. in Grant Park, although both of them are awesome. And the people and the coaches in those classes are incredible. So I do recommend it. But this isn't about that. Like it doesn't have to be, something as big as that. I'm going to tell you that just moving your body in the morning in some way is just effective, right? It regulates your mood, boosts your focus, reduces your stress, and helps you feel like just a capable human being for the rest of the day, honestly. And here's the science in one sentence. So exercise releases endorphins and it reactivates your prefrontal cortex, which is that part of the brain that's responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and focus. All the things you need to be a good parent, a good coach, a good business owner, right? Movement doesn't have to be a full workout. It can literally be like just a 20-minute walk outside. That's really underrated, 15 minutes of just stretching in your kitchen, right? A quick home workout, dancing in your kitchen with your kids, something simple. The point is to get your blood moving in the morning somehow, and then your body wakens up and it's ready for the day. And I'll tell you something that really drives this home for me personally. So my husband and I walk our kids to school like when we can. And I can't tell you how many times we both, mentioned it to each other afterwards, like texted each other, or if we're doing it together, talked about it on the walk back. But, why don't we do this every day, right? If we can, because we notice such a difference in our kids every single time. Right? They show up to school having already moved their bodies and they've had some fresh air. Like we've had a real conversation with them, instead of having just that rushed kind of morning routine and push out the door, but honestly, we notice it in ourselves too. There's something about that walk, right? It's maybe 15, 20 minutes to get up the hill to their school, but it just clears the mental clutter before the day really matters. And so we talk, we ask questions to each other. We're not just staring at our phones. We're not running through to-do lists. We're walking and talking and breathing outside air, picking flowers, looking at worms and bugs like on the street, whatever it is. And it's just those simple things that can just help set your day out right. And it's the days we do that versus the days we don't. We really notice the difference in them. The kids feel the difference and the whole morning kind of has a different energy. So it doesn't have to be a workout. It can be something as simple as a walk. Commit to some type of movement in the morning and just watch the benefits, as your day goes. All right, guys, number 4. My tip number 4 is going to be, it's a little different, than the previous 3. It's less about you kind of internally and more about reducing the friction in your day. And reducing friction is also a form of self-care that really no one talks about. So here's what I mean. The morning rush is not just stressful because you're tired. It's stressful because you're making 100 tiny little decisions all at once. What are the kids wearing? Where are their shoes? There's one over there, and where'd the other one go? Like, did we pack the snack for school? Do we have everything for soccer practice after? And that decision fatigue starts before you've even had breakfast, right? So here's the habit. Use just a few minutes of your morning to set up the whole day so you're not scrambling all day long. And this looks like, for the kids, lay out their clothes the night before. Yes, even this is a morning tip. Build the habit of doing it the night before as part of your morning kind of prep mindset. Pack their backpacks, have them at the door, prep snacks or lunches, batch it, make it simple, don't overthink it, and put anything that needs to leave the house, by the door. So it's ready and you're not wondering where it is. And then for yourself, look at your calendar before the day starts, know what's coming, and write your 3 top priorities for the day. This is different from your to-do list. Lay out your own workout clothes so they're ready, and here's the magic of this tip. When you reduce the number of decisions you have to make in the moment, you preserve mental energy for the things that actually matter. You're not wasting brain power on where is the summer camp application form I need to drop off, right? You've already handled it. And that to-do list, every time you check something off, even the tiny things like snacks packed, you're building momentum. You're building evidence that you're someone that has their life together, and that evidence can compound throughout the day. All right, awesome. So tip number 5. All right, this last one is the most important, and it's also the one that most parents skip. I want you to hear this clearly. Filling your cup is not selfish. It is the strategy you need. You cannot perform from empty, right? I know you've heard that 1,000 times, but I want you to really sit with it, because a lot of us know it and still act like it doesn't apply to us. Like somehow we're the exception. Like we can just keep giving and giving without ever refueling and it'll all be fine. But it's not fine. And deep down, you know it. When your cup is empty, you are depleted, overstretched, running on nothing. You are not the parent. You are not the business owner. You are not the partner that you want to be. You're not the coach that you want to be. You're not the friend or employee that you want to be. You're just surviving. And surviving is not the same as living. So what does taking time for yourself actually look like in a real busy day? And so here's what I want you to think about. In the morning, that quiet cup of coffee before anyone else wakes up, it counts. Sit with it. Don't scroll your phone. Just be still. Sit outside for 5 minutes. Feel the morning, right? Let your central nervous system settle before the day asks anything of you. Read something just for you, not a parenting book or a business book, something that brings you joy. And then throughout the day, notice when your cup starts to drain. This is a skill you have to develop. The awareness to catch it before it totally hits empty. Give yourself permission to step away for 5 minutes. Close the bathroom door, take a walk around the block, put in some earbuds and listen to a song you love. Don't wait until you're fully depleted to refuel. That's like waiting until your gas tank is completely empty to stop at a station. You don't do that to your car, right? Don't do it to yourself. So right before spring break, I caught myself really in a season where I was being really short and impatient with my kids. And like snapping at things that didn't deserve it, impatient in a way that I didn't feel good about, right? And at work, even I was sitting at my desk sometimes, like staring at my task list and just going nowhere. Like I couldn't prioritize. I couldn't get into like any of that deep focused work. I was pushing through, checking things off, but not actually doing anything that was like moving the needle forward. And I knew what it was. I didn't do anything, I didn't need anyone to tell me. My cup was empty, like completely dry, and I was still trying to pour from it anyways. So I made a decision. I stopped waiting until things got better on their own and literally started implementing the things I'm telling you about right now. Not all at once, just one at a time. Like I got really serious about my morning routine. I started protecting that wake up window before the kids woke up. I got back to journaling. I started stepping outside a little bit more when I noticed I needed it. Started taking the dog on walks when I needed that little like reset period. And even on the harder days, the days where I could feel myself hitting that wall like mid-morning or mid-afternoon, instead of trying to just push through, I started just stopping. I'd go outside, go for that walk, right? Just sit outside and get some sun on my face for 5 minutes. Do the reset instead of grinding harder, into nothing. Because here's what I now know that I wish I had kind of understood sooner, that pushing through empty doesn't make you productive. It doesn't make you any more productive. It just makes you more exhausted and even more unproductive. You end up spinning your wheels and snapping at your kids or someone else, wondering why nothing's getting done. So the reset is the work. The stillness is a strategy. And, I'm not perfect all of a sudden, but I'm working on it. I'm still figuring it out. My clients are figuring it out and working on it, right? Some mornings are better than others. Some days I do all 5 things, right? And feel like a superhero. And other days I just, wake up a little earlier and try to do my best and give myself some grace. But the difference between before, when I had no routine really, and now, it's not even close, So find your things. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's 5 minutes outside with your coffee in the morning. Maybe it's just sitting in your car for a second before you go back inside, before the work meeting. Whatever it is, find it, protect it, come back to it every single time you feel like your cup is close to empty and feeling drained. You'll know when you need it, trust that feeling, and then actually listen to it. And none of these 5 things are complicated. None of them require a perfect schedule or an entire hour. They're small, they're simple, and when you start linking them together, one leading into the next, they stop feeling like a to-do list and start feeling like yours, like those habits that you're chaining and linking and stacking on top of each other, like a morning that actually belongs to you before it belongs to everyone else. So let me just paint the picture of what this could look like all together. So you wake up before the kids, right? You have some water, pet the dog maybe, and just breathe for a second. Do not pick up the phone yet. You open your journal, write 3 things that you're grateful for, an intention for the day. Maybe then you move your body, right? Go for a walk, a little home workout, make it to OxFit, whatever you've got that morning. Then you prep, right? Lunch is packed, bags by the door, top 3 priorities written down. Future you is already saying thank you because you're ready to tackle the day. And woven through all of that, you protect your stillness, right? You protect the quiet. And when you feel like that cup is starting to drain later in the day, you stop, you reset instead of pushing through on empty. So that's it. That's the stack, right? One thing flowing into the next, each one making the next one easier. And every time you check one off, even just making the coffee before the kids wake up, you're training your brain to believe I'm someone who takes care of myself. I'm someone who shows up for myself first so that I can take care of everyone else next. And that identity shift is where the real transformation lives. Okay, so let me take this home for us now. So you're doing an incredible job, right? You're working on yourself. You're trying to be better. The fact that you're listening to this, right? Thinking about how to be better, that matters. That's not nothing. That is definitely everything. But I want you to know that you deserve more than just getting through the day. You deserve to own your morning. You deserve to feel energized and intentional and present, not just for your family, but for yourself. So start small, pick one of these 5 habits and do it tomorrow, just one, right? And then add in another one the week after if it's been going well and you've enjoyed how you feel after you do it. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. It doesn't work. That's how we burn out. That's how we quit, right? We need to build slow. We need to build steady and then stack each one on top of another. Okay, so if this resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 5 habits are you going to start with? And if you know a parent who needs to hear this, please share this video with them, you guys. All right, I will see you next